Yeah, which is kind of a mid-range dream, right? Like lots of creatures, lots of life gain, just sort of keeping you alive. He's also got a birthing pod, 3 birthing pods, so he's going to be able to do some shenanigans with that as well.
Yeah. So Brandon led on Ponder, has a turn 2 Delver, which I think is probably going to flip. Cedric, turn 1 Avacyn's Pilgrim. Yeah, I think we're gonna see that Delver flip, and we've got
we have a birthing pod coming down. This is pretty ideal time to cast.
Oh.
No, it's a Blade Splicer.
Pretty nice turn 2.
It seems fine. Yeah, and as predicted.
Yeah, flips off of a Vapor Snag, and Brandon, a student of the Paulo Vitor Dama da Rosa school of lands in front.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
It's very old school.
I think it's annoying. I
I'm
can't ever
I'm
see
not a
their
fan,
creatures
but,
back there. I'm always like, what's going on?
What's over there is a glare. So in with the Insectile Aberration and more threats in the form of Geist of Saint Traft from Brendan.
Yeah, it looks like Brandon's content to just start building out his board and creating a bunch of threats. He's going to be able to use that Vapor Snag later. Probably just going to hit the goal.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah. So we're going to see if Cedric has a decision here about, depending on if he hits his land drop, if he wants to use his Pilgrim or not. Assuming that the Golem's not going to be there by the time Brandon's going to be attacking, he has the option of double blocking.
Right.
All right. He does have his 3rd land though, so that's going to open up a few more options for him.
So.
All right. So Thalia.
Thalia, yeah.
And he just passes the turn back. So he is going to leave up his Pilgrim. He's not going to use that mana. That way he can double block the Geist if the Golem bites it.
And Thalia is a first strike, so that does a good job of holding off the Geist of Saint Traft as well.
Yeah, fantastic job. Also, it makes that that Vapor Snag a little bit worse.
Yeah.
I see timely reinforcements in Brandon's hand, along with a Dungeon Geist.
Yeah, that's a card that was pretty popular for a while, then seems to have fallen off.
Yeah, I think it was most popular when it was locking down a Titan.
Yeah, exactly.
And since Titans aren't, they're around still, but they're not quite as in favor as they were at the time. He just content to just pass the turn back.
Yeah, so see the Thalia holds off the Geist, but Insectile Aberration does some work.
Brandon seems like he's just going to be patient here and just keep bashing with the Aberration until Cedric does something. I mean,
yeah, I think that's a fair plan. Like he's fine with that.
Yeah, the onus is definitely on Cedric here. I mean, he does have attacks. There's things he can do here, but he has to be very wary of getting hit by that Geist. Even as it sits, though, Brandon can just chip away at Cedric's life total with the Aberration, and then when it's lethal, he can just throw the Geist in.
Yeah, throw the Geist away. Yeah, because the Angel will get in for 4. So I mean, technically, he knocks Cedric to 7, or within 7 points, and he's got 7 points of flying damage.
Yep. Another thing that you'll see from the Delver players, if they have another Geist, they'll often just be like, well, I'll cash this one in for 4 damage and just replay my second
Yeah,
one.
It's pretty much like a sorcery speed char kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, pay 3, get 4 damage out of it. That's it.
All right. Now, that's a little bit of action
for
Cedric
Township
here. Yeah, the Gavany Township's going to be able to give Cedric something to do, and maybe even just straight up create a clock that he can attempt to race here. But he has to be so aware of that Vapor Snag. He can't just leave one thing back to block. He's going to take an extra 2 damage if he does that.
Yeah, I mean, he could go ahead and try to force the Vapor Snag at this point, just so he can get it out of Brandon's hand. I like that. I think he looks obviously considering swinging with the Golem, and he does. So just the Golem.
I think Brandon's just going to take it here.
Yeah, Brandon's at a healthy 20.
Yeah, all right, and we see a Geist Honored Monk come down. Now, he plays it right into Mana Leak, but we know that Brandon doesn't actually have one in his hand.
Yeah, he's got Snapcaster in hand, but only a Ponder available in the yard, so.
This is going to be a big stabilization play for Cedric. It's going to allow him to attack the next turn, and it's also going to allow him to use that Gavany, we call it Gavin Verhey Township.
Yeah.
and it's going to be used to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, to put 6 or 7 extra power on the table.
Yeah, and flying.
Some of it's flying as well.
Some of it's flying. He's
Yeah.
now got a blocker for. He's got chump blockers for any angels and delver, flying delvers that.
All right, Brandon decided to vapor snag one of the tokens.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
One of the spirit tokens. So.
Trying to make sure he can get in with the
Yeah,
flyers.
it's like we were talking. He wants that clock to be there, but I mean, this table is this board state's going to turn back on Brandon pretty quickly. Like, he had a consistent clock, but he doesn't now. Like, now Cedric can just race in.
Yeah, I mean, his options here, he can Snapcaster vapor snag the other blocker if he wants, but I don't think that's good, and he doesn't either. He's going to go ahead and just let the Delver get chumped there. So
Cedric insta blocks.
Yeah.
There was no thought there.
And
so Cedric he's got a lot of power on the board, and he's facing down
one lone blocker and
potentially a Restoration Angel, maybe a
Snapcaster vapor snag.
Yes,
is actually what Brandon
something
has.
like that.
Yeah. So Cedric pondering his options.
Pondering?
Yeah, well, without the actual card pond. I know. I saw you like looking over like.
I feel like I'm in there with Rich Hagen or something. The puns are flying already.
Cedric is brainstorming what he could possibly do.
That's tomorrow.
Trying to preordain what Brandon could be doing next.
That's
turn.
tomorrow.
Oh, is this all?
Yeah, that's all tomorrow.
I mean, should I really go deep and be like Cedric trying to skeletal scry what Brandon is trying to?
Wow. All right. Deep is one way to put that.
Yeah, that was just way off. So looks like Cedric's gonna.
What is Cedric doing?
Looks like he's trying to get in here. Golem's already in the red zone. Geist-honored Monk appears to be joining the Golem, and the 1/1 Blade Splicer.
So Cedric's working out the math here, right?
Yeah.
Because he's sitting at 13. He knows that he could very likely be at a virtual 12 just from the vapor snag. Mm-hmm. Like he's aware that right. Play exists, and so he needs to make sure that he doesn't die to the crackback. If that is the case, and he didn't have any creatures to block with, then it would be 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage. So this is a close one here. It looks like he's just going to activate the township.
What's the 11th? I see the. You're counting what Brandon's able to do, right?
Yeah.
So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the vapor snag.
10,
you're saying if he has an additional vapor snag?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying because of the Snapcaster Mage. It gives him 2 extra power.
Snapcaster's here. Okay. No,
yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Like I think that's what Cedric is trying to
Snapcaster.
consider. So he's going to make sure he leaves some guys back here.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, I see.
Yeah. So Cedric does, though, decide to use his Gavany Township, which is interesting because if he does get vapor snagged on the Monk, which he didn't, okay, then he couldn't recast it that turn. But looks like it's going to get 1 counter, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 5 damage.
Pretty hefty swing. So yeah, Brandon does go ahead and Snapcaster vapor snag on the Golem. Mm-hmm. For those of you who may not have been looking at the screen there, but Geist-honored Monk got in with an additional counter from the Gavany Township. But Brandon now does have Cedric at 12 from the vapor snag and has.
We need some more dice here as well. That's awesome. One of our local judges heard me say that as he walked by the booth. He's like, "You need dice?" That's how good the judges are here. It's fantastic.
So there they are. Yeah, they got some more dice. All right, so we've got plenty of blockers. Now Brandon has a virtual 6 in the air.
Now you'll note as well that the life totals are 12-12, and Brandon is still sitting on that timely reinforcements.
Yeah.
So he does have some incentive to go a little bit below.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to go, 6 below. Like any 5 and less, he gets a little bit of extra value out of the reinforcements.
I believe he also has drawn a second Geist.
Okay, and he has, and that makes a lot of sense.
So there's that's a strange looking angel, but that's the angel.
Some card game that I've never played.
Is that versus system? What is it? Is that Yu-Gi-Oh? No,
I think
kidding.
It's
Pokemon.
Okay, yeah.
I'm joking.
The fact that you know that speaks volumes about.
I've never played it. I've played versus system. I've not played any other card game but Magic and versus system.
All right, fair enough.
So there goes. So the Angel gets in, and Geist gets chumped. Well, not chumped. Gets blocked by Thalia, I assume.
Yeah.
And Geist number 2 comes down for Brandon.
All right, so Cedric is in a position where he either needs to win this turn, force the Geist Hunter Monk to block, or he's going to die in the air on the next swing because he has nothing in the air currently. So he is surveying his options here, as if he can get in enough for lethal where, so if the Snapcaster Mage blocks, Brandon doesn't care. But if he's forced to block with the Geist, then he does. This is probably one of those situations where Cedric is trying to decide if he thinks that Brandon has another
Vapor Snag.
Another Vapor Snag, but I think it's going to end up being one of those situations where he's probably going to decide that even if he does, it doesn't change his line of play here, like he has to make a move. Depends on what he has in his hand, though. He could have a bunch of different things. Second, Gavany Township is not useful here. I mean, it's a land.
Right, but that's about it. Yeah, he can't activate both.
I wouldn't be surprised to see everything come in here.
Going for the Alpha Strike. So he's got...
I mean, he certainly has lethal. He's got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And what's the other creature I forget? Oh, 11, 12. So he has lethal as it sits.
You're talking about the Pilgrim? Is
the
that
Pilgrim.
The one you forgot?
Yeah, that's the one I forgot.
Okay. So, yeah.
So I think he's just going to jam with everybody here and force some blocks. Yeah,
and,
get in there.
He...
Oh.
Are we...
He's doing math. This is what math looks like in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, it's just a whole lot of moving cards around, and rubbing their backs on the table.
It looks like some mystical.
Yeah. I told
right.
you he was skeletal scrying.
Yeah, and the answer has appeared to Cedric, and blocks are going to happen.
So we've got a chunk
So right
block,
now it's
so
3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this actually is lethal, right?
What,
3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12?
6, 10.
Is this not 12?
So the Pilgrim is now a 3/3, right?
Yeah, and
okay.
so is the Blade Splicer.
So that's 3/6.
Oh yeah, right.
Thalia's
It's not
4.
12. Yeah.
He's
so that's
chump
6,
blocking
7, 8, 9, 10.
10.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. And
he's going to have another Pilgrim. Oh,
a bird.
Ooh.
That's actually great.
That's a fantastic one. So. And he still had the Dungeon Geist in his hand to tap it down, and that was it. So anything that could get that bird out of the way, even temporarily, would have been the game.
Which is exactly what happened there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a nice close game, though. I like that. It was because if Brandon couldn't win that turn, Cedric had him the next turn.
I love games like that because Cedric's deck, which I think normally plays a slightly aggressive, if more mid-range approach, but it's looking to attack its opponent with creatures.
Yeah.
He actually was the control, right?
Yeah.
Like Cedric was on his heels from the very first turn of that game.
Yeah.
And he was trying
Delver,
to
yeah.
not
or
give
Delver.
Right, not give Brandon an opening to kill him. And then, but the thing that I liked about that game is that there became a point where the tables had to turn, and where Cedric was like, "All right, we're moving in. If you have something to deal with this, then you have something to deal with this." And he got to just Alpha Strike, but it turns out that his plan was foiled because Brandon did have a way to get rid of the Birds of Paradise.
Yeah, so looking at Brandon's main deck, it's very similar to the deck that Jerry T won with a few weeks ago.
Okay.
A little over a month ago, actually. That was the Angel Delver list, the one that plays
Was
Restoration
this the one where
Angel,
he won Standard and then almost won Legacy?
Yeah, I'm comparing it a lot to that list. It's
Okay.
very similar. He's I think Jerry had 3 Restoration Angels. Oh, okay. Sorry, getting a little bit of miscommunication here. So, hey guys. So, yeah, but they had he had I think 3 Restoration Angel on that list. This one goes up to 4. So basically, Jerry had this list. It evolved that he won with. It evolved the next week to include like Cavern of Souls, an additional Restoration Angel, more gut shots. This Brandon's list looks to be some sort of amalgamation of those two. He doesn't have the Cavern of Souls. He did increase the number of gut shots. He upped it to 4 Restoration Angel. Switched Sword of Feast and Famine for Sword of War and Peace. That's something that kind of everybody's done now that Delver has, really taken hold with. And you're seeing a lot more Lingering Souls recently too. A lot of the Esper lists. So
would you consider this list like tuned against Delver? Like against the mirror?
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, you gotta pretty much all the Delver lists are becoming kind of inbred in that way, where like they've got to fight themselves.
Because we have 3 gut shots here
Right,
in the
exactly.
main deck.
And it's great against birds and pilgrims too, which is seeing tons of play. You know,
Oh,
we just saw
man.
Cedric there. Now we didn't see any gut shots, I don't think, from Brandon that game, but I imagine they were on the table in his deck. I don't imagine they were sided out.
Yeah, I see some interesting. There's 4 phantasmal images in Brandon's board, and those are clearly a nod to Geist of St. Traft. It also has other value. I mean, you can do things like phantasmal image your opponent's Huntmaster of the Fells. It's just, it can never transform, so you get whatever it is at the time.
Right.
It's okay.
It's an interesting
I don't think it would come in here.
there.
Oh, we're off to the races here already.
Yes,
it looks
we
like
are. So far it's just been lands.
a bunch of
Cedric,
lands, but Cedric's got all of his colors.
Right.
It looks like he's drawn another Copperline Gorge, so he's just going to have even more of all of his colors.
And there's
Cavern
a
of
Cavern of
Souls.
Souls. And
Naming human assumed.
I could assume that. Yeah, I mean we can find out for sure what he named. That we're going to find that.
I mean, he's got
for sure.
I think all of his creatures are humans outside of like Restoration
Okay,
Angel.
it is human.
It is, okay. Strangler Root Geist isn't, and birds aren't.
And there is a phantasmal image.
Oh, so he does have an image.
Yeah,
Okay,
interesting.
that seems fine as well.
Maybe because of the the Huntmaster thing you mentioned.
I kind of like this as well because he's cloning the Blade Splicer, which who cares if that dies?
Right, exactly. It's actually a great creature to Phantasmal Image because
Yeah.
Phantasmal Image goes away. So what? I have the Golem, which is the relevant half of the Blade Splicer.
Now, you can take that away at instant speed during combat.
And take away the first strike.
Right, so it's relevant, but all right. And it looks like Brandon's he wants to
Oh,
trade,
and
and he's
he's
going to
gonna
do
do
exactly what we just said.
So, gut shot on Cedric's Blade Splicer leaves Brandon's Golem with the first strike, Cedric's without it, and Cedric loses his Golem. Brandon basically able to clear Cedric's board with a gut shot and a Phantasmal Image.
That is annoying for Cedric.
Yeah, so Cedric goes ahead and goes, all right, Huntmaster of the Fells, I ain't playing around anymore.
No, he windmills it onto the table as well. Now I don't think Cedric's deck has very much removal at all. It's a little bit more sort of passive disruption. It does have 4 Bonfire the Damned though. That could definitely be a card that we could see. It's excellent versus Brandon's deck in general. I mean, if resolved.
Right.
What kind of permission is Brandon running?
I think just the mana leaks and a couple dissipates out of the board, which I don't even think he probably didn't bring them in.
No, but the mana leaks might well be in there.
Yeah, I could see
And
that.
those would come into play for sure. All right, so the Wolf token eats a Vapor Snag. And we go back to Cedric. Draws his card for the turn. It is not a miracle. Or if it was, he decided not to cast it.
He does have a Restoration Angel.
In his hand?
Yeah, in his hand. I did see that earlier.
He emphatically swings in for 2 damage points, and we're going to see a Snapcaster Mage come down, target Gut Shot, move to blocks, and we'd assume a Restoration Angel will now come into play.
Yep.
It does.
Trying to restore the Huntmaster, and it does.
And it does. Now, that means the Snapcaster Mage is going to live, but it's not going to do a whole lot here, given the board state. Cedric goes back up to 20. Plays a land, gets another wolf, has an angel. That was a pretty big turn for Cedric.
Yeah, and Brandon declines to flash back the gut shot.
He just decided to leave it in there. Just didn't want
in case for later Snapcaster or something. Yeah,
that makes sense. I mean, doming Cedric for 1
I don't feel like it's as relevant as that gut shot could be later.
Agreed. All right, so attacking with a 3/3 with first strike. Why would he attack into a 3/4 or 2 2/2s?
Well, he does have that gut shot in the yard.
So he can just block with Restoration Angel, get gut shotted, and he just straight up loses it. I mean, he would need another Snapcaster to do that, but that does make some sense.
Yeah, I mean, if he's trying to get that Angel out of the way, he does have a Vapor Snag in hand though, so I'm not actually.
But that doesn't
sure
really get you anywhere.
I don't feel like it's that great of a line. I'm just trying to get the logic here. I'm trying to see his hand. I know he has Vapor Snag. I know it looks like another Timely, which would have really pulled him ahead in that last game too. That now that I was thinking about it in between games.
This is interesting now, actually.
So Timely, Vapor Snag. I don't know that he has another Snapcaster.
I think he might have a Restoration Angel of his own. All right, so we're going to see Dungeon Geist come down, probably tap down the Angel.
Yeah, so still strange that
he does have a Restoration Angel, so that's why he attacked. He plays Restoration Angel, he blinks his Snapcaster Mage, he flashes back Gut Shot, first strike damage goes on, and then he gets to kill the Angel. Now, as it stands, the Angel is on lockdown thanks to the Dungeon Geist. Pay 5, this is probably Geist Honored Monk.
Yeah. Cedric adds
There it
Geist
is.
Honored Monk to the table.
Can you imagine Restoration Angeling a Geist Honored Monk? It's a pretty big game. I don't think there's enough tokens in the room to cover that.
Yeah.
Cedric currently doesn't have any attacks, though.
No, he's like you said earlier. I think he may be the control deck here in this game too.
Yeah.
Although it's as far as control plays go, it's actually kind of gone both ways here.
It has. Now, I don't think that Golem can get in this time because the Geist Honored Monk is a 6/6.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Pretty big game.
Yeah. Now, the Dungeon Geist can, though. There's no reasonable blocks currently for that, and Cedric is tapped out, so it can eat a spirit token, or Cedric can be patient and try to see what he can do about recasting that Geist Honored Monk and get enough spirit tokens to just block the thing. But I expect just to see the Dungeon Geist attack here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Brandon's going to want to keep that Huntmaster from flipping.
Look, it says human for us.
Hey, look at that.
So this is going to be, I'm curious to see if Cedric takes this or not. Because if he does, then that means he's probably got some type of a plan to get more spirits on board so that he can actually kill it. It looks like he did. He did, so not chump blocking means that it's probably the case. All right, so we're going to Vapor Snag the Wolf again. And he's going to do it on his turn.
Right, to keep the Huntmaster from flipping.
For what you mentioned, right.
So Restoration Angel does not untap.
Cedric eagerly draws. He wants to hit that bonfire.
Yeah, that would be a miracle.
It would be a blowout.
That card is ridiculous.
That card's insane, yeah. When we were doing coverage at the Pro Tour, it was block.
Yeah.
And everybody was playing bonfire, and it was like there was always some point in the game where no matter what had happened previous to that,
top deck bonfire.
It was like, bonfire wins it. Yeah.
Blank the entire game.
It was. We called it bonfire o'clock. I see. Okay, so there's going to be a Blade Splicer come down, and this is just sort of testing the waters, I think. It's going to resolve because I did see another Restoration Angel in Cedric's hand, so which is consistent with what we were thinking about
making
more tokens. Yeah. He really does need all 4 of them as well because of Gut Shot and or Vapor Snag. He can't do it that way. He knows he's not going to block next turn, so he's going to send him in. I'm assuming that the Geist Honored Monk is also going to come in.
Looks like it. Yeah, looks like Monk and 2 spirits.
The Monk is now a 7/7. It's got Vigilance.
That is a huge Monk. Cedric Phillips, a very well-known Cloud Goat Ranger aficionado, playing
He did have a season where that was his thing.
I mean, Geist Honored Monk's pretty much the same thing.
All right, so we're going to see a chump block from the Phantasmal Image here. I think I like that better than taking 7.
Yeah, I like
he did
that
take
too.
2 though, so I think Brandon's actually at 16 here.
There it is. All right, so Brandon goes ahead, gets in with Dungeon Geists yet again.
I see I believe a Fiend Hunter in Brandon's hand. Yeah, that's a card that.
A Fiend? Is that in his list?
I don't know. Why don't we check?
It must not have been Fiend Hunter. It's probably
then
could be timely.
Then it's timely. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would been surprised to see a Fiend Hunter.
I would also. You can do some shenanigans with it, but I don't think it makes the cut in standard.
Yeah. And looks like Vapor Snag one of your spirits.
I don't think
Cedric
Cedric's too bummed about that.
No, I think he's fine, especially if he actually does have that Restoration Angel that we suspect he has.
But then it's a weird spot because what he's going to do is the plan would be to put 3 tokens in front of the Dungeon guys, but that opens him up to having 1 token either.
Restoration Angel stays tapped, by the way.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay,
yeah, good eye. Yeah, you saw that right away.
It's like, just in case they don't catch it. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm not going to slip one by the Pasco apparently. Judge Joey. Yeah, no, I'm just saying. So the plan though for Cedric is to put 3 spirit tokens in front of the Dungeon guys.
Yeah.
But that opens him up to getting gut shotted or vapor snagged for one of them, in which case he loses both of the other 2 for no value.
Kind of.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like he might just not even go for that plan now. because it's such a risk. All right, so this Birds of Paradise is going to represent a chump block, which is, I think, it's going to free up his spirits to attack. He's going to be playing Restoration Angel on Brandon's turn.
So Cedric looks to be getting in with Geist Honored Monk, Blade Splicer, Golem, and a Spirit. So we've got, how big is that monk? Is it 8/8 now or 7/7 again?
I think it's still 7/7
because he lost a guy, got a guy.
And then he got a guy, right.
Yeah.
So if he sends in the Blade Splicer, it's going to get eaten, or excuse me, the Huntmaster, that's going to get eaten by the Golem. But then that allows him to get in for 3, 7, that's 10, 11, 12 damage potentially.
Cedric looks like still making some decisions here.
I think Cedric's actually just telling him how he would block. He's like, you're going to block here.
Doing some acrobatics there between the Huntmaster and the Blade Splicer, doing some flips and then landing right back where they were.
Yeah. I don't know if he's, clicked okay here or not.
Yeah, it's a lot of movement of the cards. No clear declaration of attackers, I think, at this point. But my guess is that he's sticking with this. So it's just Golem, Spirit, and Geist Honored Monk.
This is funny. This is an interesting duel of the Restoration Angels.
Yeah,
because I think
one.
Cedric might want to play his on his turn now, because he can for sure resolve it that way.
Yeah. So here comes Restoration Angel from Brandon. Looks like he's gonna blink the Snapcaster, which I didn't see what he gave flashback, but I'm
probably
it was the gut shot.
The gut shot's the only thing he can actually cast.
Yeah, because he's tapped out. Yeah.
So I guess you just take out the Spirit token.
And so he could take out the Spirit. He could also decide to just take out the bird if he wants. Obviously not attacking, but
Oh no, that makes sense.
Future chump blocker.
Yeah, that makes some sense too. I think the Spirit probably makes a little bit more sense. It depends on if he thinks he can race him. He has got Cedric all the way down to 9 here. He's going to be able to get in for 6 in the air.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a feeling. All right, so he looks like Restoration Angel is going to block Cedric's Golem. At least that's what the initial decision here. He's trying to count up how big that monk is. He's going to take that hit from that monk.
Take 8 damage.
Wow.
If he does, though, that puts him at 8, which is 1 less than what Cedric's at.
Now, what?
And then he can play Timely Reinforcements and gain 6 back and put a slew of chump blockers on the ground. So I think that's what his plan is here, is just to take the 8. And I'm curious to see if Cedric wants to try to resolve his Angel now while he for sure can.
Yeah.
Or if he would rather have the surprise element of waiting till Brandon's turn. Resolving it seems important.
Yeah.
He is going to go ahead and do it right now.
I'm with that. Yeah, I think that's...
And the Geist Honored Monk is going to get blinked. We're going to get more tokens.
So that Geist Honored Monk just became a 9/9? Is that... Or, I'm sorry, a 10/10, right?
Yeah, now... Yeah, and that makes sense. Okay, and so the gut shot is going to kill one of the tokens, but Cedric still has a Birds of Paradise and an untapped Spirit token to block things in the air with.
Yeah, so now Brandon is at 6 from that gut shot.
Cedric gives a little fist bump there.
Yeah. I think this is kind of all going according to Cedric's plan.
I mean, he's in a pretty good spot, but Brandon looks like he's going to be able to resolve
Timely Reinforcements.
A Timely, which is going to kind of reset back to where we were before. But that Geist Honored Monk is now lethal, and Cedric is definitely in a position where he can just start attacking with everything and get in a bunch of damage. Not literally everything, but he can represent lethal damage here.
Yeah, so
the next turn.
We know Brandon has Timely, and that's what we're going to see here. So that's going to put him up to 12, and he's going to get some 3 dudes seriously on the board. Spectral Procession, another card that Cedric Phillips knows all about.
You know, it's funny because since I've met him, I haven't seen him play decks like that.
Yeah.
Like I think he's widened his play range significantly. I mean, he's played red and green decks every time I've seen him.
Yeah.
Like in some, I mean, I have seen him play mono white, but I've seen him played in limited as well, not mono, but like white-based strategies, and it's a kind of a pleasure to watch. All right, so if he bonfires here, which he's not,
Yeah, did not.
then the game would just be over.
Brandon declines to attack here with anybody.
Yeah, 'cause-
it just seems reasonable.
Yeah, Cedric has a huge board state now. And Cedric's just trying to flesh out what he's going to be able to attack with. You know, he's going to do the math. He's going to work this thing through. He's very, very good at combat, and he's going to figure out what he can actually get in with reasonably. One card, you know, that Brandon would like to definitely not see on Cedric's side is like Gavany Township.
That could wreck Brandon's math. Well, obviously it would be on board, but that would really wreck the numbers here.
Yeah.
Put it in Cedric's favor. But
all right, so
looks
Cedric
like,
says, well, I'm just going to attack with my monk and say go. Cedric is at 9. He doesn't want to risk getting cracked back on. And we're going to see a flip.
Huntmaster flips.
Yes.
I'm so used to Delver flipping, it's like nothing else ever flips. And Delver flips, it's just Huntmaster the fells.
So Huntmaster is going to either, what did it kill?
I didn't quite see.
Token's the only thing it can actually just kill. Are we still targeting? I know that Brandon took the damage.
Oh, so yeah, look at that. So that's a.
Well, now wait a minute. That's a combust.
That's just a combust.
That kills it anyway. So where did the 2 damage go from the Huntmaster? Why didn't it kill a token?
I'm not quite sure. I missed that too. I feel
It hits a creature and a player. But the turn has already been passed back. I think that Brandon should be down a token, unless maybe it was off screen and I just didn't see. I don't know.
Yeah, was there a Snapcaster that was around that is no longer?
I don't see it in the graveyard.
Yeah, that's what throws me off.
Oh, there is
too.
something actually underneath
Oh,
that.
it must be it.
That must be the Snapcaster then?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It does look blue.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's
It
what
also
killed.
knocks Brandon to 10 here, which is relevant.
And now Cedric is on Alpha Strike, you know. Everybody but the birds.
Cedric gets to do the most fun thing in Magic. Just turn all your guys sideways.
Yeah.
I like
I mean,
doing
he should
this.
just swing with the birds just for fun. Just be like, yeah, this too.
Yeah.
You don't ever know. You don't know. Maybe I have,
Yeah.
mutagenic growth or something.
That's your plan? Bash with the birds?
Bash with the birds. Just to tilt my opponent,
Yeah.
a little bit. What is he doing with that
Play
bird?
a Silverblade Paladin, pair it with the birds.
Yeah, double
Attack.
strike.
Yeah.
All right, so Brandon here declaring some blocks. He's got, it's a whole mess of stuff happening here. We've got a soldier on a Geist Honored Monk. We've got Angel on Angel. It looks like Angel and Spirit on Angel.
Uh-huh.
Or is that, I'm sorry, no, those Angels were Cedric's. Yeah,
You
so
lost me.
It
No idea.
was all kind of covering each other up.
There were blocks. Blocks happened. The dust is going to be settling here. And we see a Pilgrim.
So apparently Brandon survived the turn.
And he's just going to
yeah.
scoop it up because Brandon ended up going to 1 after
okay,
that
that's where
massive
he
beating.
was, yeah.
And given that Cedric had way more creatures than Brandon did, he was able to get by him there.
Yeah, timely
Cedric better take
reinforcement's
that
not
little
good
human
enough,
thing out of there. I think Cedric revealed the top card of his library because he was like, is this going to be the bonfire?
He's like, they're in my freaking deck. Where are they? I have 4. Yeah, so definitely exciting interactive Magic right there. A lot of creatures on the board.
Yeah, these mid-range battles are interesting. I think one of the key things that we saw in that match that we're probably going to be seeing throughout the weekend was both of them sitting there with fairly well-developed boards. Some guys on the ground, some guys in the air. This thing's doing that, and they're both holding Restoration Angel.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, are you going to do yours, or am
Yeah.
I going to do mine? And who is going to abuse Restoration Angel the most? I mean,
Right.
when it first came out and people started talking about it for Standard, I remember thinking that Restoration Angel, Blink Snapcaster something, and do that was like, that was pretty big. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, like that's pretty awesome. But now it looks like these decks, like Cedric's, are like, man, Geist
Blade
Honored
Splicer,
Monk,
Geist
Blade
Honored Monk.
Splicer, and Huntmaster of the Fells.
Yeah.
They're all just designed to take advantage of Restoration Angel.
Yeah. Restoration Angel is it's one of my favorite cards. I think it's my favorite card out of Avacyn Restored.
Oh, is it really?
Now that we've gotten, now that I've kind of gotten a feel for this set, I don't think I would have said that. I like Tameo a lot too.
Uh-huh.
I think
'Cause
I like
it's
the
blue.
Angel. Yeah, it's a blue Planeswalker. It's Frost Titan's gone, so now we've got Tameo instead. Kind of does the same thing.
Yeah.
But a little bit cheaper, a little bit better.
She's way cooler than Jace Memory Adept.
Yeah, I
think
like her too.
Like,
socks
like
with
her
sandals, totally cool.
Yeah. We both went for flavor only reasons, but yeah.
Right, yeah. So I love Tameo, but I think the Angel is a lot of fun to play. A lot of interaction, a lot of options. Snapcaster Mage, Blade Splicer, Geist Honored Monk. Just being able to have a flash blocker as big as a 3/4 flyer,
and instantly changing the combat math as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where things look okay. I'm alive. I can do stuff. I'll get in there and put him to close, and then all of a sudden, boom! They've got 3 extra power coming at you, and it can do even small edges like Vapor Snag.
Right.
Right. Like this Snapcaster Vapor Snag is such a different board state than Snapcaster.
Mm-hmm.
Than just like having a Snapcaster Mage.
Right.
It's a huge swing, and people have I think that when we get to the later part of the day, we're going to be seeing the top tables, and I think that the people at the top tables, one consistent thread among them are going to be people that always respect Restoration Angel.
Yeah.
The people that are like,
yeah,
get
whatever.
in there, and then it's like, oh, you had it, and all of a sudden, like, not only are they getting their guy killed, they're getting killed on the crackback as well.
Right.
So, I live here.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of the players here. So I was kind of wandering around before we got in the booth, just going, hey, what are you playing? What's going on?
Right.
A lot of mid-range.
Yeah, Esper mid-range seems to be a popular choice. We saw it last week. Several players playing it and doing well with it. I'm not a fan, but I just tend to shy away from mid-range kind of style decks. I'd rather just kind of play something more Delver-oriented, where you're like, okay, I want to be leaner and meaner and faster, or I want to go the other way and say, all right, I'm going to have a bigger end game, rather than be like, hey, I'm going to sit here on the fence and try to do both roles and hope that I have the tools to be the role that I need to be in every situation. So Delver already as a deck is known for being very good at that. It's aggro control. But I think the Esper mid-range lists are very interesting.
Yeah, I normally side with you when it comes to that. Like, I actually prefer the Delver style list, the aggressive but with disruption type. You and I were just playing a little Magic while we were waiting, and I was playing my Rug Delver list for Modern. I like that kind of a deck that can apply a good amount of pressure but disrupt. But I have to say that this current standard metagame seems pretty well suited to these decks. The traditional Delver decks have made actual control decks not very viable. They have a tough matchup, and so you don't see them. Remember Blue-Black Control?
Yeah, I do remember that.
I used to play that. That's not around anymore. Grixis Control, you don't see that very often. Right? These decks just they're just not here for the most part. And what that means is that if you're one step slower than the most aggressive decks, you can usually beat them. And on top of it, man, you just bury people in cards.
Yeah, I think
every card that these guys are playing creates multiple cards, and then you play Restoration Angel to create multiples of those cards. We're seeing stuff here where it's like, I'm looking at this list, and let's just take a look at a few of the cards that Cedric's playing now. He's playing Avacyn's Pilgrim and Birds of Paradise.
Yeah.
These are for obvious reasons.
Classic ramp kind of, acceleration.
Then as we go, we've got Blade Splicer. That's a 2-for-1. We've got Borderland Ranger. That's a 2-for-1. We've got Fiend Hunter. That's a 2-for-1. You get a creature and a removal spell out of it. Geist Honored Monk is a 3-for-1.
Yeah.
Huntmaster of the Fells is at least a 2-for-1 when you play it. Restoration Angel,
usually
it will enable all of these to do their 2-for-1 again.
Right.
Strangleroot Geist is definitely a 2-for-1. It's 2 creatures in 1.
Undying, right.
Zealous Conscripts is also a 2-for-1 because you not only get a 3/3 haste,
but you get whatever they.
You get the Super Threaten. That's 2 cards in 1, and then Thalia is a I wouldn't call it a 2-for-1, but it's a solid disruption spell that has a good place in the meta.
The whole crew, yeah.
Everything he's doing is getting multiple cards, and then some of the Restoration Angel can be a 3-for-1 because you get an angel.
Yeah.
You get the thing that you blink, and you get the effect of the thing that you blink.
Right. It's ridiculous.
Mid-range, I think there's 2 different types. This one is clearly a bury them in card style, right? I think one of the other ones, and what you and I are talking about that we don't want to do, is I'm not trying to be the mid-range deck in a format that has a wide variety of decks. There's a control deck, a combo deck, an aggro deck, like a true aggro deck, a mono red floating around. Like, you don't want to be the guy floating around in the middle being like, well, if they play this, I have this card. Yeah. And if they play this, I have this card. And, and then it's like, if you don't draw those, or if their deck just performs better than yours, you're playing kitchen finks versus combo decks, like, oops. Yeah. Right? You're playing, these weird, like, sweepers against decks that don't have any permanents. Right. And you're playing, like, cards that hurt you, damage yourself to get an advantage against mono red, and it's just like you're kind of floating around in the middle. And I agree with you. Like, I have no interest in that kind of thing.
I think, though, you make a good point where, like, yeah, exactly. But you make a good point where these are kind of a different iteration of the classic mid-range deck in that they can bury you in card advantage here. Yeah. But one thing I wanted to point out is that I think going towards this mid-range style opens it up for control. They're worse against the control decks. And you mentioned Grixis. Actually, Christopher Morgan top 8'd last week with Grixis control.
So some people are
in a format where the Esper mid-range kind of debuted, like right. So like, hey, these mid-range decks show up, and now Grixis control maybe wouldn't have won those matches. I don't know how often Christopher played against Esper mid-range, but what if those Esper mid-range decks had been Delver? Instead of Esper, like traditional blue-white Delver, maybe Christopher would have lost those matches. But I mean, he played Grixis Control to 5th place last week in Detroit, and
interesting, and that makes a lot of sense because, I think that people tend to, they say I don't want to play this control deck because it's not good right now. But now what we've seen is this progression of the Delver deck from being really very aggressive with some like disruption to now there's this like Esper mid-range, which is like, we don't need Delvers anymore. Right. It kind of evolved into this weird mid-rangey deck, and it might just be ripe for the picking. I mean, this might, like, the people that did decide to play control, they might be in a very good spot. Look what we just saw, 2 mid-range decks kind of,
that's exactly what it looked
cards
like
against each other.
Until one of them was dead. That was
and that's what happened. I mean, we saw Cedric just get more cards. Right. Like if you just took a snapshot of the battlefield at any given state, that was a pretty good indicator of who was winning. Yeah. Like, I had more cards than you. Like, and I don't even mean battlefield of like who has what. It's just like card versus
my stuff's
5
all
cards.
Across the board, off the screen. My Snapcaster's hiding so that we can't see it die to Huntmaster. Exactly. It's over off screen.
Yeah. So I think that's something that we're going to be keeping a close eye on if a control deck can come in and kind of swoop in on these mid-range decks. Even then, though, these mid-range decks make so many cards. Yeah. Like, a lot of control decks are in the business of 1-for-1. You play a threat, I Doomblade your threat.
Well, it's usually 1-for-1s until they can get their big guys.
They're 7-for-1.
Yeah, they're like giant, like sweeper or something online.
A sweeper, which right. I was going to bring that up too. Right. Did you see the board states we had? If Cedric had top deck Bonfire at any point in either of the games that we watched, he would have just annihilated.
That would have been the game. That would have been it. Right. There was he didn't need a miracle, but that would have. That would have been a.
So one of the things that I want to keep an eye out for if we do see a bunch of these mid-range decks throughout the day are trump cards. You're
like
doing
Bonfire.
Like Bonfire, I think is one. Terminus could be one. I don't know if we will see it in these decks, but the cards that reset the board or that have such a huge one-sided effect, because right now we're talking about grindy, right? I mean, we're talking about all those cards that I just listed from Cedric's list are just like grindy,
like
build,
incremental advantage.
And if you have something that can just outright go over the top of your opponent, I think those are going to be key in the mirrors.
Now, we were talking about sweepers. You mentioned Terminus. We just found out that Mutilate is in M13, right?
Yes.
Officially spoiled by Mike Flores on Top Decks on Thursday. We can talk, I think we're going to talk a bit about M13 this weekend in between, but I just wanted to bring up one point, is that it appears that Day of Judgment is not going to be reprinted. I believe it's not in the... there's people on the MTG Salvation forums doing the number crunch, and they've got like everything, and they've figured out that there's no room. I don't know how they do it either. Yeah. But I just take them at their word.
The Oracle.
Yeah. So I take them at their word, but basically it appears that Day of Judgment will not be reprinted.
Okay.
Instead, we have Mutilate, so it's interesting to see the colors that are getting sweepers, and white does have sweepers in the form of Terminus, but we'll only have Day of Judgment until October, and maybe it's reprinted, maybe another white sweeper is reprinted in Return to Ravnica.
But that's such a huge difference, right? Like, so the color thing is, like, the Mutilate thing is, that's a different deck, a different idea, like, different thing, right?
You're not going to play Mutilate in your Esper control.
Right.
Or if you are, it's not going to be very
But if we
effective.
take Day of Judgment versus Terminus, those cards are very, very different.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing, of course, just being the casting cost. You know, there's a lot of control decks that run cards like Day of Judgment or previously Wrath of God, and, you know, their game plan is to turn 4. Like, I want, like,
sometimes
fourth
they
mana
need
drop, turn 4, I need the Day of Judgment.
Exactly. Sometimes even turn 3. Sometimes the whole thing with a control deck is like, all right, I need to go turn 1, you know, whatever, turn 2, Everflowing Chalice or Mind Stone, some sort of signet, so that on turn 3 I can Wrath.
Yeah.
Because I need to clear whatever it is my opponent's been doing while I've been playing these artifacts. And
now, I don't know about you, but, like, as of now, I think those days are over. Like, Day of Judgment against the decks that we just saw does, like, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's not very impressive.
No, like, it would be sweet.
It's like kind of like timely reinforcements, where like it has some sort of effect temporarily, but
it's really not. Like, timely reinforcements in the match that we just saw was very unimpressive.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I wonder if Brandon would have been better off just making like a bunch of normal blocks to not go below 9. Like, I don't think he got a huge gain out of that. And I don't think the Day of Judgment, like, in the games that we watched, it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But Cedric knows that Brandon's not playing.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the key. If Cedric thought even for a chance that his opponent could have it, he wouldn't have played the same way, where he's just like dumping everything he has on the table. And it feels like, you know, when you're playing against a deck that's playing Wrath, your number one goal is to be able to commit enough stuff to the board so that you can pressure them and force them to Wrath. Then have a recovery plan. Right? I mean, you've played a lot of like blue-white control decks.
Absolutely.
You know you hate it when they're like guy, and you're like Wrath you, and then they're like guy, and you're like, you know, you're like digging, and you know, because one thing about when you sweep the board, especially with 4 and 6 mana sorceries, is that you're often tapped out, and your opponent gets to be the first one to start committing stuff back. Your counter spells don't do anything for that short period of time. It's one of those situations, but it feels like decks like Cedric's, they don't have a hard time recovering at all.
Right. It's the creatures have gotten so good. All right. So here, like I said, you go, all right, turn 1 to maybe turn 3 Wrath, right? And then your opponent goes, okay, starts recovering from Wrath, and then you're like, all right, I need the 1-for-1 until I can Wrath again.
Yeah.
Or get like my big guy, my Planeswalker, or my huge, you know, whatever game-winning Cruel Ultimatum or something, you know, like something that's going to win you the game. You're basically just trying to live so you can hit your land drops and do something ridiculous. Now, though, you're like, okay, so Wrath, that guy comes back, right? That guy comes back. You know, these guys that have Undying, and then they're like,
is bigger now.
Like, all your guys just got better, and now you add, and it's just like, I need a Wrath I need my Wrath to have like rebound now, you know, just to be able to compete.
Yeah.
To be able to be like,
your Wrath needs Undying.
My Wrath needs Undying, right? I mean, I guess that's a rebound, right?
I like rebound.
You know,
Yeah, that
rebound
makes good
Wrath.
sense.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
Or you have something like Terminus, where, you know, it really costs too much for its effect if it didn't have that miracle.
Yes.
You really need to.
Yeah, that was traditionally costed at 5.
Yeah. At this point, though, it's almost like they just need to print a Wrath that does like a 4-mana Terminus that just does, because the creatures have gotten so much better to be able to compete with these kind of creatures.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to have like a true board sweeper, that's what needs to happen. But I mean,
I don't think they want that.
I don't think either. I don't think so either. And the players are smart, right? They know that too, and they're like, look, this card just doesn't get it done, so we're not going to do it. You know, I mean, and looking at Cedric's list again, 3 Birthing Pod. Now, I think he took them out. Like, I don't think he really
needed them.
Yeah, but 3 Birthing Pod, like that means that you Wrath, and even if you, let's say you Terminus your opponent, right? You're like Terminus, and he has an empty board state and a Birthing Pod, like any creature that he draws is now going to be a threat. Like you're now on a clock.
Right.
And so he plays Birds of Paradise, right? And He cashes it in for a Stranglergeist.
Right.
He attacks you for 2. He says go. On his next turn, he can cash in Stranglergeist. He can get like a Blade Splicer.
Right.
Attack you for 3 that turn. Like you've now taken 5 off of a Birds of Paradise, and he also has 3, 6, 7 power on the board. Again, he could have gone Birds of Paradise land, like drawn nothing else, and you're facing down 7 power, and you've taken 5 haste damage.
Yeah.
Nice Wrath, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, again, I think that these control decks are going to have to find different ways to interact with these cards because there's not that much exiling happening. We don't have like a Path to Exile or something like that where you can just be like Undying, haha.
Right.
None of that stuff's happening. And I think that these decks, personally, Cedric's type of deck, and also I think the Esper mid-range deck puts too much pressure on a control deck to have too many different answers. If one Wrath effect is all that you need, plus some support removal, that works fine. But if you need to have a Wrath effect, and then another Wrath effect on the rebound, and you also have to have an answer for Birthing Pod, forget it.
It's an uphill battle.
Very much so.
But we'll see what happens. We know they're out there, and I think it's cool that, like I said, Chris did well last week with Grixis control. And, we've seen Esper control lists winning in the past few weeks. It's just, I think it's a matter of, thank God I drew the answer at the right time. You know what I mean? Like, I did have the Wrath, and he didn't recover as quick, and I happened to have the tools to fight, or, I Wrathed and then went Sun Titan Phantasmal Image into, something else and went, okay, so you recovered with your Birds of Paradise and something, I've got 2 6/6s and something else, like, some other, something that got back with a Sun Titan. So, creatures have gotten better across the board. They're good for the control decks too.
Sure.
Like the creatures that the control decks choose to play. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, any self-respecting control deck wouldn't play more than what, 5 creatures?
Well, I mean, it depends.
Now we
got
have
like Snapcaster,
more.
which is kind of like a speed bump and a spell.
Truth.
Than a creature, but it is a creature. So, and then you got things like Sun Titan and Grave Titan.
Yep.
The Titans are big, obviously, but we're going to lose them in October too. So it's going to be interesting to see how things change in the fall. But we still got a few months of M13 standard to look forward to, where we're going to have a lot of overlap. We're going to see, Mana Leak is going to be around for a little while longer for the control decks to play.
Are you sad? Are you okay?
I was really excited that it came back, so I can understand. All right, it's going to go away, but maybe one day it'll come back again. I never expected it to come back the first time.
I can tell. He's sad. Once we're not on camera, big hug coming. Yeah. You want it right now? You okay? Oh, get in here. No, we'll get Mana Leak. I don't think Mana Leak is going to make any appearances
anytime
ever again.
You don't think ever? I mean,
It's
I
so
would have
tough.
thought that. I would have said the same thing about Lightning Bolt. I would have said the same thing about Mana Leak.
That's true. That's true. Now, I just get this feeling like they're not super happy with how Mana Leak
You've been talking to
plays.
Zach Hill too much.
Yeah, well, I do get a chance because I live out here to talk to a lot of the guys in R&D, and my former podcast partner Ryan Spain, he works down there now. Now, they can't really tell us anything, right? There's this like secret veiled wall around everything that we're not allowed to hear. But you can kind of pick up little nuances about,
the
they're like,
topics
yeah,
of
Mana Leak,
conversation.
and you're like, maybe you don't like it. I don't know, But one of the things that I've learned about how things work in R&D is that there's a lot of discussion about everything. Like there's arguments, there's meetings, there's hallway discussions. Like I tend to think of them as being more solitary than they are. There's very much a back and forth of discussions, and then they kind of come together and say, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
It's a little, where, I don't know, I think before I had that glimpse, I thought of it a little bit differently. I thought of it as kind of like everybody knew what they wanted to do, and it was all on the same page, but it's not like that.
Douglas.
There are a lot of opinions. Thank you, Troy.
It's interesting, too. Like, I know Mark Rosewater, I believe, described it. I mean, they've used the term pendulum before, where it's like it changes, it's this way right now, but it could always go back to the way it was and then come back. And I think another thing that Rosewater, I believe, said was it's like the stairs, like the what is it? Of course, now I'm drawing a blank as to the artist's name, where you have the
Escher?
Escher, that's it. The stairs that kind of always appear to be going up, but never actually. So it's like, something changes one way, something goes down the other way, but it's just kind of alternating back and forth. So it's
all right. Looks like we got a
we have a match. And
little round 2 action here.
check that out. What is that little red 50?
Oh, that's sweet.
We have a timer for the match, and the guys have. That is a new feature.
That's awesome.
Check it out. This is the debut of the round timer for the
That's
featured
cool.
match. Now this is actually just for this match because these guys started a few minutes after
Because they get a couple minutes because they're in the feature match.
So
here.
this is true to the match we're watching.
Ooh, so we have a little bit of a different opener here. On the left we have Ricky Mance, and it looks like he's on a similar list to, or at least potentially a similar list to what.
It's actually those deck lists. Those deck names are off, guys. You hear? Guys,
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get
so they're fixing the deck names, but what we actually have is a very interesting match, I think, with 2 somewhat similar decks here. They're both, I believe, they're both green-white. No. One of them is
Boros.
red-white. That's Ricky. He's on the right-hand side of your screen, so he's going to be.
Switch this like this.
Yeah, why don't we do that? So it looks like he's going to be Boros deck, an aggressive one. He's led off with a Doom Traveler, and he's followed it up immediately with an Honor of the Pure, so we can see what type of deck he's doing. And on the left, we have Andrew Keeney, and it looks like he's running Naya Birthing Pod. He's only got Caverns on Humans. He's got 2 Birthing Pods in the deck, so I guess we'd call this Naya Value Pod? I don't really know.
Value Pod, and there is a Garrick.
A Garrick Relentless comes down on turn 3 for Andrew, and it's probably just gonna.
Looks like he made a dude.
Oh, he just made a dude.
Yeah. And what is it with the Pokemon cards, guys? Everybody wants the Pokemon tokens.
That's the one I actually recognize.
I mean, I think that's Pikachu, right?
Yeah, it is. So Silverblade Paladin comes down on Ricky's side. He's going to pair it up. It's going to be with the Doom Traveler, and he's going to swing in for a 2/2 with double strike. In response, Andrew's going to activate his Micaeus. Yeah, and it looks like he's going to go ahead and block with his Wolf token. They would trade. First strike damage goes 1 and transforms.
Right.
Whoa, don't do that. He almost looked like he was going to pass a turn.
Just like,
you know the hand that comes out?
Yeah.
It's like, it sort of floats and then it'll open up, and that's when you... So these are
I
paired
was
up as well.
stretching.
Man, just on the...
So yeah, he goes ahead and kills the spirit, flips his Garrick.
Which is sweet because that's going to unpair the Paladin as well.
Right, so now it's not very impressive.
Yeah, and what that means is that likely Garrick's going to survive. Because Andrew, even if Ricky plays a creature this turn, which it looks like he's going to, I see a Lightning Mauler in his hand. Yes, he's going to pair them up, so now they both have haste. So for Joey, Lightning Mauler, a reasonable first pick in Avacyn Restored Limited. It has Soul Bond, it's a 2/1, and it's going to give any creature that it's Soul Bonded with haste, and of course, as long as it's paired, it also gets haste. Now, they're both attacking, they both have double strike. One of them's a 3/3, one of them's a 2/2. And I didn't see if they're attacking Garrick or not, but I did see that a Restoration Angel got flashed into play.
Yeah.
I also saw
it
that
looks like
we had activation from Micaeus the Lunarch, which killed it.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, I think
because blinking it
was.
doesn't do anything.
Right, exactly. It's not going to help. So he let the Micaeus die, and now, but the angel got a little bigger, and
it looks like he just declined to bounce anything with his angel.
Yeah, he didn't blink anything. There was no reason to, nothing to blink profitably.
So both creatures were coming at Garrick. Garrick does die in the transaction, but Andrew does get to kill the Lightning Mauler and have his angel survive. If it would have blocked the Paladin, he would have also been able to trade there, but he decided he'd rather just have the angel alive.
Yeah, and that seems right.
Yep, I like that play too. I see a Thalia in Andrew's hand. He has a 3/3 Pilgrim and a 4/5 Angel. And now he's going to add a... Geez, this is Soul Bond City. That is a Near Heath Pilgrim, another fine first pick in Avacyn Restored Limited. And it gives lifelink to the creature that is paired with. It's also a 2/1. So he's going to swing for 7 damage, 4 of it being lifelink.
That's ridiculous. It's like an Exalted Angel right there.
Yeah, it is.
Build your own Exalted Angel.
Yeah.
from Andrew.
It took a little bit of work, but
I mean, Exalted is coming back in M13, and so we can use that pun all summer.
I'm very excited about that.
Me too.
I really like Exalted as a mechanic.
I mean, we're going to see that actually probably more often. Restoration Angel attacking with
Fiend Hunter, your Restoration Angel. Now that's a dangerous play. If the Fiend Hunter ever leaves play, then the Restoration Angel is going to re-enter the battlefield, and it's going to get to use it again. Yeah, which it looks like currently isn't that relevant, but it can be.
So that's a 2/4 Fiend Hunter, right?
It is a 2/4. That's correct. It looks like it's not paired.
Yeah, I was going to say, did he pair that or no?
I mean, I don't know what he has in his hand, but based on, like, normally you would probably pair up. But the judges asked at the beginning of the tournament that the cards actually be touching if they were paired, and I think that the indication here is that they're not.
Thalia for Andrew, and just a pass back. Ricky gonna swing in with that.
Just a
2/2.
Yeah, it must be paired.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a 3/3.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. It is a 3/3. You're right. So,
but he can double. He can just. Oh, it is paired.
Okay,
Okay.
so
See, they got to be careful about that.
Yeah.
But it is a 3/3 double strike, which makes a lot more sense as far as the attack goes. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, he was going to trade it for a Pilgrim. Like.
Right. Like. Yeah.
Don't think you'd want to do that.
Great. So it looks like Thalia chumps.
Thalia chump locked.
That's
All
interesting.
right.
And the Hero of Bladehold from Ricky. This is just.
This is. It looked pretty good for Andrew, but it doesn't now.
No. I mean, it was starting with that Fiend Hunter, and then.
All right, so he has a second Thalia in his hand, which makes sense, and also a Geist. So that's going to come down now.
Okay.
We're going to see the other Thalia. That's why he chump blocked.
Yeah.
Whenever you see people chump block with
something that
legendary
doesn't make
creatures
sense for them to chump block.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Strangleroot Geist and Thalia and pass back. So.
Yep. But he did pair it up with the Nearheath Pilgrim, and that's going to make both of them have lifelink.
It's very interesting to see these Soulbond creatures seeing so much play
it feels
in the
like
same
limited.
Match. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Okay,
that
I
is
saw this yesterday in Cube
savage
and scooped
beating.
to it when.
Did you?
Yeah, it was
These
Hero
two
of
cards?
Bladehold. It was Nick.
Nick did that.
Had, he stole my Paladin and then played Hero of Bladehold and Soulbonded them.
Yeah, that's pretty devastating. So the Hero of Bladehold now has double strike, as does the other one. The Hero of Bladehold is also a 4/5 with double strike.
Yeah, that's
the
ridiculous.
tokens are going to get the trigger from the hero. They're going to be 2 1s from the hero plus the bonus from the Honor of the Pierce, so they're 3 2s. The hero itself is a 5/6. No,
it's
it's
still a 4.
no. So it's a 4/5
double strike.
double strike, but it also gets its own. Oh no, it only
does-
comes to other cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So 4/5 double strike is just going to have to do.
Yeah, that's all. That also puts 2 guys into play.
Yep. And we're going to see a double block, but that isn't going to work out. Oh, all right, that's a different one. Where'd the so is the Geist blocking down below there?
Yeah, I wonder if we can get them to move their cards on camera. I know it's tough to tell when you're actually down there playing.
Yeah, I don't know if I would double block here because he can just kill the.
Because
It's a 4 power double striker.
Right.
So he should just kill the Pilgrim first. That gets it off the board, and then it's only 2 more power coming back.
And that looks like what he did. So the double lock did nothing.
I mean, I guess you can do it either way in that case because it's 4 toughness versus 4 first strike. So. Yeah.
Still,
so
he just lost both of his guys.
Yeah, I don't think that Andrew's going to be able to come back from this board state without something like Terminus.
Yeah, I don't think he plays Terminus.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it'd be in a heavy creature-based deck. Usually Machaeus the Lunarch and Terminus aren't in the same deck together.
Not usually, yeah. All right, so.
Yes. I do not think that Andrew is in a winning position here at all. And we see a Gather the Townsfolk from Ricky. I don't know if I would play that. I would definitely not play that land. So up until this point, we had seen no red from Andrew's side of the battlefield,
yeah,
and he just threw out. And I think that's definitely a mistake. Like it's a small one, right? It's one that you might not think about because who cares? The game's over anyway.
Right, but now Ricky.
Now you've just let Ricky know that there's going to be some potential red cards. Some of the cards you could be thinking about are Zealous Conscripts, which is a huge blowout and a card you can definitely play around to a point.
And there's a one of in the main
Damned.
deck.
There is, okay, yeah. A Bonfire of the Damned is also a card, you know, that Ricky might be thinking about. And when you're running,
And there's 2 in the board.
there you go. So when you're running a heavy creature-based deck like Ricky is, cards like Bonfire of the Damned and whether they can exist against you are huge.
Right.
And showing his opponent that he was in fact playing red, I think was definitely not the best. Also, Ricky had more than lethal, but he played out his gather, and I just don't see the reason for it. He's going to get 2 more tokens off of his Hero of Blade hold.
Yeah,
he's representing lethal times like 7. If he gets Terminus, he would like to have a backup plan. And frankly, you know, with his opponent at 8. Hey, welcome back. If his opponent's at 8, and his opponent goes, yep, Terminus.
Yeah.
Then Ricky untaps and he plays Gather the Townsfolk, and he has 2 2/2s.
Right.
So which is a 2-turn clock. Right. And that's pretty important. Now, I didn't know, you know, maybe he had something else in his hand that I didn't see,
right.
You know, that would also help out. But I just think, you know, you have to always be aware of that. You wouldn't assume that your opponent's playing Terminus.
Right,
like, I wouldn't
just
do
in
that.
case, you
but
don't
there
know.
didn't seem to be much downside to just holding on to that.
You wouldn't assume your opponent's playing red when all you've seen are green-white cards until he drops a Rootbound Crag.
Yeah,
onto the
and
board.
then screws
it up. Right.
The reveal.
All I
scoop.
had was this land that I don't know why it could possibly be in my deck.
Yeah.
You know?
So, yeah, but I think overall we're going to see a pretty funny game 2 here with a whole bunch of creatures mashing themselves into each other here.
I like this one of Sigarda in Andrew Keeney's list. Now that's interesting because wait, Sigarda costs green and white, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was thinking
It's
for some reason
it's white green too.
that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's got a one of Sigarda. He's got a Geist Honored Monk. We saw that last game. He does have 2 copies of Bonfire, which I imagine we're going to see. I imagine he's going to bring them in. Whether we're going to see them is pretty much going to be.
His list is interesting.
It is.
I mean, two Borderland Ranger, 1 Near Heath Pilgrim, 3 Strangleroot Geist, 1 Macaeus the Lunarch. So we saw at least 2 of his just straight up one-ofs.
It's very interesting. Like
I mean, it's a birthing pod list, right?
Right,
so
right.
so he's able to search up these cards. So it makes sense to have access to a
lot
wide
of
range
one-ofs,
of things.
Right. It's got a metamorph.
I don't know
in
about
there.
Macaeus as a one of, as opposed to in relation to birthing pod, because that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't do anything.
But he's a good card, and I think one that you don't mind having.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't think it's meant to go with the birthing pod. I think it's like, hey, maybe I draw this, and it's cool. You know, it pumps my guys.
So this is kind of interesting. Let's look at the cards that he decided were important enough in his deck to have 4 ofs. So Birds of Paradise.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that makes some sense. And we were just talking about this in between the last rounds. Blade Splicer.
Restoration Angel.
Restoration Angel. So again, he's just looking to get value, right? He's just like blink, 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 blank, blank,
and then there's the cards that looked like they were supposed to be 4 ofs, but he needed room for 1 ofs, so he just shaved 1 off.
Yeah,
Huntmaster.
I do get that vibe here.
Yeah, Huntmaster, Strangleroot Geist, Avacyn's Pilgrim, all 3 ofs. So
yeah, I mean, sometimes with the turn 1 accelerator, you do want a specific amount, 6 or 7, as opposed
that's
to the
not
full
so
8.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got 3 Strangleroot Geists.
The one of Garrick Relentless.
Right, which we saw. He did, I mean, he has a lot of one-ups, so he drew a lot of one-ups. We saw the Pilgrim, we saw Macaeus, we saw Fiend Hunter, we saw Garrick Relentless. The only one-ofs we didn't see, besides Dismember, is a Metamorph and the Conscripts. It's interesting.
Metamorph being an excellent target for Birthing Pod. I think, one of the things that I've seen happen quite a bit is people get the Metamorph to copy the Birthing Pod.
Yeah, and then shenanigans.
Yeah, when they start chaining together 2 Birthing Pod activations per turn, you better be doing something pretty impressive to combat that.
That's actually one of the things I think is great, like about some of the Rug Pod lists where they go, all right, I have a Strangleroot Geist. I'll pod it away to get a Deceiver Exarch to untap my Birthing Pod, which I'll use it again, sacrificing the Exarch to get a Thrun or something, the Giant Solifuge.
Yep. All right, we're back down in the area. It
Solifuge.
looks like we're already underway here as well. So it looks like Ricky has led off with a Thalia, and he's going to probably hit he's going to honor the Pure. He's got to pay 3 for it because of his own Thalia, and he's going to attack for 2 damage.
Very glorious anthem of him.
Man, I love that clock there.
Yeah.
Really, it's
I don't
great,
know.
It has this calming effect for me.
It's nice to know how much time is left
Yeah.
in the round. So Ricky won game 1 in 10 minutes, and
Yeah, he smashed, I'd say. Like,
Yeah, he
would
did
you put this in the smashed category?
pretty smashy.
Yeah.
Andrew did look like he was in an okay position earlier on, but
There was certainly some point of time, yeah.
so Andrew's first play is a Huntmaster of the Fells, and that's a pretty
I like
reasonable
that.
start.
I like that. I'm
Why
looking
not?
at Ricky's list, and he's very, very aggressive. He's running 4 champions, 2 Doom Travelers, 3 Lightning Maulers, which we saw. Oh man, here's a Hero of Blade Hold.
Hero of Blade Hold, and
Chump
Thalia
block.
comes and gets chump blocked by a wolf.
So I wouldn't be shocked. Like if Andrew has a Restoration Angel in his hand,
And just say
oh
go.
man, just say go
This
and
is
just
that wreck
blow
board,
him
yeah.
out. Yeah. I mean, you can do so much in this situation. I know I see a Wolfear Silverheart as well. He could be considering just dropping a Silverheart and just beating. I mean, he swings for 6 and he has an 8/8 blocker that's pretty tough to deal with. Like, it's going to require something.
Well, he's going to cast a second Huntmaster, I believe. Or wait,
What transform card costs 1 extra? Because
Yeah,
of
that's what
Thalia?
that's what
Oh,
I'm
it's
trying to
Garrick.
think.
It was
Oh,
a Garrick. It was
yeah,
Garrick Relentless.
That's actually exactly.
All right, so
what it
he
was.
does decide just to pass the turn. Now we don't know if he has the Angel, but if he does, oh goodness.
Yeah, I can't quite see his hand well enough to determine. It does look like he has a white card in there, but that could be anything.
Yeah, I think I see. Play 3. Play a Mirren Crusader. Okay.
So yeah, Ricky adds Mirren Crusader after losing his Thalia.
And another Thalia.
Plays another Thalia, and that means Huntmaster will flip back.
Which is actually kind of a good thing
For Andrew, right.
Yeah, because he can just do this plan again. If he has the Angel here, though, it's going to get very ugly. All right, so we get 2 of these.
So Hero of Blade Hold attacks.
Yep. These are 3/2s.
Is he
Block
is he
one.
blocking? Yeah, what is he blocking? It looked like he was about to block. Well, I don't know what he was about to block.
Okay,
Couldn't
does
quite tell
not
what
have
he
the
blocked.
Angel.
So no Angel, no clear. I guess he just blocked one. That's what must have been what it was. And
Now wait a minute. Shouldn't the
Huntmaster should have flipped back, right? There were 2 spells.
Yeah,
You
there
guys
was
are
2
checking on
spells
that?
cast, so I think we should make sure that happens. He should have an extra wolf, an extra 2 life, and I don't think that I would play out my bird and my guy. Oh yeah, see now they're behind a flip.
Yeah, that.
I mean, they
It
actually
doesn't
brought them
really
back
matter,
to
yeah,
normal.
because it wouldn't have flipped.
Well,
back
it does
again.
though, right? Because if I'm Andrew, I don't play my Bird of Paradise or my guy. I just say go again, and I
Oh,
kill, Thalia again, and I get a 4/4 back. I mean, it's different. I don't know if it would have actually affected. Oh,
Ooh,
geez.
wow! Second Honor of the Pure for Ricky.
Once the second one comes down, things get very ugly. He's just going to attack with everything. The Mirren Crusader is unblockable.
Wow.
It has pro green and
yeah.
pro black.
Okay. They went too quick, and that was a lapsing trigger. So.
It's a lapsing trigger. It's too late to do, and that's interesting.
So,
I haven't seen too
so
much of that.
them missing that flip, I think, cost Andrew there because now, that Thalia wouldn't be there.
Nope. He's going to be dead here. I mean, this is a ridiculous board. So he is taking 8 damage no matter what.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, no matter what. All of those tokens are 4/3s.
That's just obnoxious.
Yeah, it's insane. They're all attacking. Like, I don't even know if he can just survive this turn. This has pro green. That's 8. He needs to get in for 6 more damage to kill him.
Right, and
But this is just a bevy of chump blocks.
there's a bloodbath right now.
Yeah,
Like,
this is getting very nasty. Like, that's lethal. No, that's not lethal. That's 12.
It was because he's taking the 4 and the 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Andrew goes to 2, and
But he loses his entire board. Like, literally every creature he has is just dead now.
that was unreal.
I do not see a recovery here for Andrew. Wow, that is savage.
That was sad. I mean, double Honor of the Pure, and then you've already got Hero of Blade Hold and Mirren Crusader against your opponent who has only green guys. Like it's he's just got a number of
He's just gonna
trumps.
extend the
yeah,
hand here.
That was rough.
He shows him the Zealous Conscripts.
And
Wow, he did have a Restoration Angel.